Welcome into the Ohio State Voice of College Football call-in show, everybody. We are glad to have you here, and we are glad to be taking your calls tonight to be talking through the Voice of College, or not the Voice of College Football, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We definitely appreciate everybody being here, everybody who calls in. If you would like to call in, feel free to call in at any time. Zach and I are just going to kind of intro the show by talking about the Buckeyes and what's been going on. Zach, how you doing tonight, man?
Good. And we were talking off air. I bought a half a cow today, and that means I'm going to be fat and happy for a while. So that's always good. So and also it's game week, so that's exciting too.
Yeah, we feel much better coming in on a game week rather than coming in here on a bye week. So definitely gonna feel better knowing that we have a game to talk about. In addition to that, we do have some injury stuff that we could also be talking about. Zach, we do have some rumors going on out there. Have you heard of the rumors of some of the injury stuff going on?
I've heard of some rumors, and I am not happy about them.
Yeah. What would you say? So obviously we have Josh Simmons who got hurt. It's not been confirmed. Like nobody has come out and told everybody that he is out for the season, but we can pretty well say he's out for the season based off Ryan Day's comments. We heard about Quinshon Judkins. He's not supposed to miss any time with the hand, but the big one has been Lathan Ransom with his foot injury. What's been your biggest concern with the injuries right now, Zach?
Well, I mean, I think the fact that we knew about Josh Simmons being out most likely for the season, that kind of adjusted my expectations, and so I think that is the single biggest injury problem. That being said, we kind of knew that was the case as soon as he went down in the Oregon game. I, I might say that Lathan Ransom might be almost the second most indispensable player on this team.
Oh yeah.
Be- I mean, Caleb Downs, I feel like him and Caleb Downs are probably the two most, because behind them, I'm just not sure how much I trust Malik. Malik Hartford has put on some good tape, but I'm like, man, Lathan Ransom has been so good in the box. That safety spot has been, I think, the bright spot of the defense. And to lose him for extended time, especially if he's not there for Indiana, which that's a while. But against Indiana and against Penn State, those are the two games I'd be really concerned about if he's out for extended periods of time. He's played really well.
Yeah, he has played really well. I'm torn on Lathan Ransom. I think Lathan Ransom is a really good player. However, we do have Caleb Downs back there as well, and we have Malik Hartford, some other guys who haven't really played a whole lot this season, but we did see him play before. So for me, like this is going to be hard losing him, but I feel like there could be some better players that could come in for him if he does miss some time. Otherwise, with a guy like Quinshon Judkins, if he misses time, I have confidence in James Peoples, but there's still only two other running backs that I really have confidence in. I feel like there's other guys I could have confidence in. So, and Fisherman's bringing them up here. He says Howard, Seth,
Yeah.
McLaughlin, and Downs are also a concern as well. I do wonder how much of those were just like they were out because of the bye week and not practicing and stuff like that. It sounds like this Lathan Ransom injury is kind of the bigger one, but we won't really know until maybe the press conference tomorrow. Ryan Day will give us some more information, and then obviously Saturday during the game.
It, Ryan Day's track record on announcing any injuries before 2 hours before game time, we're not learning nothing tomorrow.
I mean, he did say the thing about Josh Simmons though before.
That was pretty obvious. That was
Yeah,
like non-contact injury. They brought out the cart. Like, what are you going to say? Well, we'll see if maybe he'll miss a couple games. Like, no, he's non-contact injury in a cart. Like, that's about the most obvious you can get.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. That would be pretty obvious. So we'll see. I mean, it's one of those things where you never like injuries, but we knew this was going to happen, right? We knew injuries were going to be a thing that would eventually
Yeah,
happen and be a part of this team. I do like the depth more of this team than I have teams in the past, but
that's
uh,
fair. That's
we'll
fair.
see. How do you feel about the offensive line with Josh Simmons being out? Zen Mikulski most likely coming in to be the left tackle. Ryan Day announced that on the radio show. What do you think?
Um, I mean, I don't feel great. I the interior of the line has been, I think, pretty good. Right? Like, and I had forgotten about, I don't know how you forget about Seth McLaughlin. Seth McLaughlin has been great. Like, he's been really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Seth McLaughlin's been really good. I don't have so much concern about Seth McLaughlin, but
Yeah.
just Zen Mikulski. How do you think he played against Oregon?
I don't know. I feel like you're asking about Zen Mikulski or Seth. Sorry, I got distracted for a minute. I thought he was serviceable.
I thought he was serviceable. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was good. I wouldn't say he was great. I thought he was serviceable, but I would hope that, like, I think for Ohio State to win a title, you've got to be better than serviceable. And so he's got to get better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think he was solid. I wouldn't say he was bad against Oregon, but I definitely didn't see, like exceptional play, which I mean, it's going to be hard, right? You're not going to get exceptional play out of somebody the very first time they get in there and they start playing in a big game like that. But I still felt like there were times when, Will Howard, he was maneuvering the pocket and stuff like that, making up for Zen Mikulski's mistakes and pressures that were allowed. Just pressures I don't think you would have had with Josh Simmons. But at the end of the day, Josh Simmons is a first rounder. So,
yeah.
So,
yeah, I still, like, I think Josh Fryer he's gotten better, but like, I think that's where I'm concerned is the tackles.
Right.
Fisherman makes a good point. Like Zen, I think Chip can scheme, but I still am a little concerned about Chip and his play calling too. Like, I think my hope is that they've used the bye week to kind of get out of some of their cutesy tendencies, but I'm still, like, I'm concerned about both. Like, I'm concerned about the tackle spots and the ability to pass block. And while I thought Will Howard played admirably with the rush coming at him, there's Oregon did not have Jordan Birch.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the biggest things for me is Will Howard and what he's been able to do despite the pass rush being able to get to him and stuff like that. The offensive line has been good this year. He's not been pressured nearly as much as some other people have been, obviously, but when the pressure has got to him, he's not been making terrible decisions. And I know he's had a few picks on the year and stuff like that, but you look at the rest of college football, and when he is pressured and he tries to throw the ball and he goes too fast, obviously, yeah, that's not good, but he has been scrambling. He has been making making plays with his legs and maneuvering the pocket well. So somebody like Kyle McCord, I don't, want to disparage Kyle McCord and keep bringing him up, but somebody like Kyle McCord, he struggled with that last year, not just throwing the ball when he was under pressure, but also maneuvering the pocket and, falling back and stuff like that. So, Zach, we do have a caller. We have Jason here. So we're going to
bring him on.
We're going to bring Jason on. Jason. Oh, and Jason went right off after that. So
no,
sorry, Jason.
Come back.
I guess I brought him on too late. Jason, call back and we'll bring you on, man. So,
faster than Kyle McCord in the transfer portal.
Yeah, he left so fast, went right to the portal of call-in shows. So,
yeah, I'm curious. What do you think Mikulski can be good enough for Ohio State to win round 2? If they end up in Indy together.
If he keeps improving, yes, I think he can be. He obviously won't be Josh Simmons level, but if he keeps improving, he keeps getting better, I think he can be. Let's get some thoughts from Sean because we got Sean here. Sean, how we doing tonight, man?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had another caller in front of me. My bad.
Well, Jason called it. No, you're good. Jason called in, and then he bounced after that. but then you called in, so we'll give you a shot here, Sean. Make us proud.
No problem. No problem. All right. Yeah, hard to yeah. Topics coming off of a bye week here. I don't know. I actually just heard about the ransom news a couple hours ago. And that's a little bit of a concerning one. I thought he was. If we would have had him for the Michigan game last year, I think we win that game. I think.
Yeah, Sonny Styles had that missed tackle on Blake Corum that I think Ransom probably would have got. But yeah, I think you're right. It is a huge loss in the run game.
Then you had Hartford in the game on that pass where JJ inexplicably threw basically right at him, and Hartford idiotically, left his zone and ran with the receiver. Should have had an easy pick, whatever. So yeah, a couple big misses at positions where his absence was definitely significant. So, I mean, I guess the depth there is pretty good on that safety, but I don't know. I mean, I think almost more than anything, he's one of the emotional leaders in the secondary. He's one of the guys that really seems to to get the guys fired up. He kind of makes the impact plays that get the defense going a lot of the time. So I don't know that's fifth year guy who's been through a lot, and so
I agree. I'm just glad it doesn't sound like it's going to be this like long-term thing like it was last year, right? Where he's out for the entire season. It sounds like he might be out for a game or two or something like that, at least from what I'm reading. I don't know if you guys are reading something different, but that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And go ahead.
I was going to say, that's what I've heard. It's maybe a couple games, but then he should be back.
Yeah. Well, Penn State game's huge, and Penn State's best receiving threat is a tight end, so being down a safety or two in that game could be significant. So, yeah. And then
I agree with you, Sean. I think, I think Ransom's a huge loss. So,
yeah. I mean, probably not as big of a loss as Simmons, but I don't know. We'll see. Mahalski played well in his absence against Oregon, but I mean, it's hard for me to imagine winning a national championship with Mahalski and Fryer as the starting tackles. Usually, you should be better at that position than this, but I don't know. It's not terrible, and hopefully the skill position talent can overwhelm it. They may have to use a lot more quick game with Will Howard. Just a lot of what they were doing early in the year, just run a lot of screens and a lot of slants and get it into Smith and Ibuka's hands a lot quicker than they were doing against Oregon in these tougher games, which is hard to do if you play a defense that has a lot of speed and is fairly assignment sound. You're not busting like the 60, 70 yard plays in that quick game like we were doing against the lesser competition. But it may be an adjustment we have to make.
Yeah, what do you think, Zach?
Well, I it's interesting because I think, just thinking about the quick game, I was surprised at how it felt like we went away from that. And I didn't know if maybe Oregon was trying to sit on everything, or, trying to take away the short and try to make them beat them over the top. Oregon really trusted their corners in that game. And but it was surprising because I think one of the places where I felt like Ohio State could exploit Oregon was with Emeka and Tate and Smith, and even on wheel routes to the running backs. Like I felt like that was something that they didn't do at all, was throw to the flats. Really, I think they did it once. They didn't set up any screens. And that surprised me because I felt like that could have been an area where they exploited them. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Sean.
I just say, like, normally to run screens, you have to be getting pressure against you. A screen is sort of a reactive play call. If they're not, if they're sitting back playing in zone, and the receivers are giving about 7-8 yards of cushion pre-snap, those plays are not going to be super successful. So, I mean, it was probably an adjustment to what they were seeing there. But, like I said, if we can't trust our pass protection, we're going to have to just take our chances and, like, say, hey, JJ, I'm not going to just juke these guys, make them, force some missed tackles here. So, but I don't know. We'll definitely see if Zen's up to the challenge in 2 weeks against Penn State, and maybe a little bit this week.
He'll be going against. Is it Sutton that's on that side there where he's at, or is that a dual Carter where he normally lines up?
Well, they use Carter like all over the place. They kind of move him around a lot. So
yeah,
he's half the time he's in a 2-point, half the time he's in a 3-point. But he kind of plays like that. I don't know, like Jason Taylor kind of role that he used to play. Just kind of move around and find the matchup you have against him. So
yeah, that's not going to be a fun matchup.
No. And yeah, but I don't know.
What do you think about Nebraska, Sean? You nervous about this game at all, or are you feeling pretty good after watching Indiana beat up on them?
I mean, I was not worried at all about this game. Obviously, I'm less worried about actually losing it. It'll just be a little annoying because we're probably not going to win 56-7, and then that will just be the Ohio State only won 42-14. And Indiana beat them way worse. Maybe Indiana's a better team. But I don't know. I mean, Indiana's obviously somebody. We play Indiana the week before the rivalry game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just going. That's if Rourke's not seriously hurt, if he's able to come back and play 100%, I mean, that's just a game. That could just be a serious fight. I don't know what else to say. Like, if you took what Indiana's done this year, like if you had them in maize and blue helmets and called them Michigan, I think everyone would be calling them a national title contender right now. I know their schedule hasn't been great, but they've been just dominant, top 10 on offense and defense in the country.
Yeah. If they had an SEC logo on their helmet, they'd be top 5.
Yep, absolutely. They've earned it. So I want to get your guys' take on the Michigan State game this week, real quick. Mm-hmm. Diverging from Buckeye talk, because I'm sure all Buckeye fans are going to be watching that game with a very keen eye. And of course, I live up here in Michigan, so.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, before the season started, I felt like Michigan State had a pretty good chance here with Aiden Child's skill, and if Jonathan Smith would be able to coach this team well enough to, have them be competitive this season. And we weren't really seeing it there for a few weeks against Boston College, but then they also played Ohio State and Oregon back-to-back, which that's a really tough schedule there. But, I mean, I've been doing pretty well with thinking of how Michigan State's been doing this season. I think their trenches are underrated in a lot of ways. Been talking about that on the Big Ten Huddle quite a bit. So I think that they're pretty good, though. And I think that Michigan State has a good chance of winning this one against Michigan. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, well, I'll just say this. I think it might be I compared Jack Tuttle to Joe Bowserman. I think that might be an insult to Joe Bowserman. I'm just get those passing charts ready. Michigan still has legit talent. Like, there's no doubt about that. But the coaching has been poor, and I think Illinois is a good team. So I think anyone saying this proves that anybody can beat Michigan. Like, I think we have to remember Illinois is a good team. But I think Michigan State, I think to your point, JR, like I think Aiden Childs has the tools to really make things difficult for the Wolverines. The one thing they can't do is turn the ball over. If Michigan State plays a clean game, I think they win. But
that's
I still think
that's a huge if for Michigan State this year.
Yeah. But they did so against Iowa, and like Iowa is
Childs threw a pretty bad pick early in the game, but other than that, yeah.
Hey, that's an improvement. Only one pick for Childs.
That is when I say pretty clean, that's there's still one bad pick there. But the reality is, I mean, Iowa and Michigan are very similar style teams. And I don't think Michigan State will have as much success offensively as they did against Iowa. But I think they have enough. And now, but do they actually play clean? I think that's a real question. And you know, I still, if you can draw up a game plan for Colston Loveland to have like 15 catches for 200 yards, that's not out of the question. I doubt that's going to happen.
Michigan player getting it. Have you seen Michigan's wide receivers
throw for over 200 yards? That's bold of you to think that their tight end will get over 200 yards there, Zach.
Yeah.
Penn State did it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, by the way, just to be clear.
Go ahead, Sean. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off.
Finally, in Game 7 of the season, Michigan finally had a receiver go over 100 yards for the season. Samaj Morgan leads like 106 yards. He leads the wide receiver unit. 106 yards. It's just, I mean, they're a dumpster fire there. I do like Michigan State's chances here. I was very, very fortunate when that line opened on DraftKings. It opened at 9. Michigan -9. And this feels. I think even right now it came way down. It's down at like 5.5 now.
Yeah,
but it's just. I even think that's too long. Like this is a game I think State should probably be like a 1 or 2 point favorite in. To be honest.
I'm trying to remember. Is it at Spartan Stadium?
No,
it's in the Big House.
Yeah,
I feel like almost every big game that they have outside of the one with us is in the Big House.
Yep, it has been
crazy.
Yeah, they caught a Well, that wasn't supposed to be a big game. But they actually did catch some breaks with the scheduling. Too bad they just don't have a team good enough to take advantage of it this year. I mean, I mean, aside from their obvious offensive struggles, their defense hasn't been anywhere nearly as good as advertised this season. Right. So I mean, So it'll be interesting.
Sean, give us your final thought. We got Jason behind you, so we'll get to him. Give us your final thought.
Nothing. Just excited to get back in action this week, and I mean, let's husk some corn.
There we go.
This week.
IO.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay.
All right, great call, Sean. We appreciate it. We're gonna get Jason in here now. Jason, back on the line. We appreciate you being here. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you doing?
Doing good, Jason. Great. Thanks for calling in.
Absolutely. I mean, every time that any one of you guys, Voice of College Football, have podcasts, I mean, I'm always turning in and love what you guys do. Seriously. So I got a busy schedule myself, but always keep up with the Buckeyes and always keep up with you guys do. So appreciate everything that you guys do. Trust me, it's awesome.
We appreciate it. We felt like there was about time we had a call-in show for Ohio State, so we're just glad that we can have that and have some Buckeye fans talking. So, what's on your mind this week, Jason, with the Buckeyes? Is it the injuries of the Nebraska game? Is it Michigan being bad? What's your thoughts?
Well, honestly, I mean, kind of to backtrack a little bit, the loss with Oregon actually it hurt, but it didn't really devastate me because I know that we were just there. And really the takeaway from the game is, something has to be done with the defense. You have to. And it had me watching highlights from the 2019 season. And when Alex Grinch, if I'm correct, was running the defense and we had Chase Young was actually being rotated constantly in and out of that game to keep him fresh, to keep him as that demon pass rusher that he was. And LJ, love him to death, but he's not doing that. And from a lot of the research that I've done and from a lot of what I'm hearing, apparently, Jim Knowles and Larry Johnson and Ryan Day had a come to Jesus meeting in the bye week and said, look, we got to change this. We got to keep people fresh. And even if it means putting underclassmen in there to get them better, we got to do that. But we got to keep JT and Jack Sawyer. We got to keep them fresh because they were getting gassed in that game. You could see it. And, from that, it just shows that we are not that far off of an amazing defense. I mean, we are right there. The problem is just we got to retain that energy because fatigue is the enemy. And from seeing that, honestly, I don't want to sound bad when I say this. Any other Buckeyes fans that are listening here, I'm kind of glad we lost that game to get this error taken care of. That takes me back to the 2014-2015 season. We needed to lose to Virginia Tech to improve on the errors that we were doing with play running and scheming and proper line blocking on the offensive line. And, sometimes, it's good to get that out of the way early enough in the season. And we are still very much in the hunt. So, I'm not too panicked about the loss. I'm not devastated about it. And, really the main thing is that we just have to keep our guys on defense fresh and start rotating people in there. And even if it's underclassmen, get them experience, rest our starters and allow them to get that juice, that energy. So, if we need to stop them on the 25-yard line, we can stop them instead of letting them go down to the 10-yard line because we keep leaving our starters in. So, that's what I noticed that I was really happy to kind of like see and hear that, the mumblings is that there was a come to Jesus meeting kind of. It's like, that's what needs to be done. We got to keep our star guys fresh and even get our underclassmen in there because how are they going to get their flowers? You got to give them playing time. You got to get the cobwebs off because that's how you can continue to progress and develop. So, I know still some people, I've talked to some Buckeye fans that are like so upset still with the loss. And I was like, guys, it's okay. This is an opportunity for us to get better and embrace that. And honestly, in a neutral site, I'm taking us again. Absolutely. And I think we'll beat them more soundly because the second thing is I have a friend of mine that went to Washington and he actually attended a couple games in Outson Stadium. And he said that place is so small, but so echoing. It's insane. And a friend of his is a graduate of Michigan State and he's gone to Penn State's. He's gone to Happy Valley and he said, Outson's actually a little bit more louder because it's just so contained. So, home field advantage, making improvements on defense. I'm excited. I am so excited for this game coming up on Saturday because I feel like, there's going to be tweaks and changes. And I think we're going to see a different defense because it sounds like it's going to be changes. And it sounds like they are really going to start blitzing because they saw what Georgia did to Texas. And you got to keep guys fresh so you can continue to attack the line of scrimmage and have a meeting at the quarterback. So, I'm not down. I'm not nervous. I'm actually really excited because it sounds like we've licked our wounds and we're ready to get back out there. So, how are you guys feeling about that?
Go ahead, Zach.
Jason, I appreciate your insights there. I thought it was fascinating listening to Ryan Day or seeing the transcript of I think it was the radio show or the coach's show that he was on today. And they asked him like, so what'd you do during the bye week? He's like, I was with the defense and that was it. And I was like, interesting. So I agree with you too. I think the rotating, and I think you were alluding to this, the creativity. Like, I think those are the two things that we need to see from the defense. And I think if they can do that, like, I do think this can be the best defense in the country still. I think we have the talent. Like, I was thinking about this the other day. JTT and Jack Sawyer, I think we have tried to play them like Chase Young, and they're just not those guys. But they could be crazy good at stunting. They're really good in the run game, but there's just not a lot of creativity to put them in places where they will succeed and excel. So like they're really good players. So like I think the question that I have for Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles, how do you put the right guys in the right seats on the bus? Because I think for the past 2.5 years, they have not done that with those guys. I think I think part of it has been this kind of internal schism between Johnson and Knowles. And I think Ryan Day finally has enough bandwidth to be like, guys, knock it off, figure this out. And so if that's the case and they figure out how to be creative, how to get the right guys on the right seats, I still think this is going to be the best defense in the country, including better than Georgia.
100%. 100%. Absolutely. Because, you can't treat everybody like Chase Young. I mean, Chase Young is one of those guys almost like Nick and Joey, Bosa's. I mean, you can't treat them exactly like that. They're still amazing talent. I mean, those guys are wreckers, but you got to get more creative with them, how to use them. So that's 100%. I agree with that. I mean, this is still a defense that can be the best in the country, and they're right there. They just got to get the kinks out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I looked at this Oregon game kind of back afterward and watched the defensive line play, and it looked like they were gassed there at the end. I mean, it was so difficult for them to continue to play and continue to get pressure on the quarterback because they were playing so many snaps. I looked afterward, and Jack Sawyer had played nearly 60 snaps the entire game. Like that's just way too much for a defensive end to be playing, especially when you have Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Curry, other guys behind him. And I do think that it was difficult for Larry Johnson because of all the tempo that Oregon was running. So it's harder to get substitutions in when the other team isn't substituting, obviously. And so I do give him a little bit of an out there. But for me, like that's something Jim Knowles and Larry Johnson need to figure out at halftime. If they're going to be running tempo, how do we figure out how to get our defensive linemen to sub out so that way Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau aren't playing, 15 snaps back to back to back because they can't pass rush for 15 snaps in a row.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I mean, if you don't figure out how to be able to make adjustments to a team that's continuously doing tempo and wearing down your star guys, I mean, you got to figure out a way to get them some rest. You have to, because if they're not somebody who's a generational talent who can do 60 plus plays in a game, you're just overstretching the defense. And I was watching the game with a buddy of mine. He's like, geez, JTT looks like he's gassed, man. And I was like, you're right, man. He looks like he's tired, and no mark against JT. I love JT, but he did look tired. So yeah, I mean, hoping really that they start opening things up and figuring out ways to, get our star guys rest, because they can come in on a third down and they're full and flushed with they've gotten rest. They're ready to go after it. You could see the difference. I saw the difference actually. It gets me excited with Penn State too, playing them this year, is that they were kind of rotating people in and out. Last time we played in Happy Valley, that's how JT was actually able to wreck people, is because they actually pulled him out on different. They actually rotated him a couple times on certain coverages and confused the quarterback, and then all of a sudden there's JT in the backfield making interceptions, and I'm like, why didn't they do that during Oregon? But yeah, I'm excited to see what they're doing against Nebraska, and contrary, I don't think it's going to be a close game. I don't, because I think we're going to come out. We're going to be like, okay, we got our chin run for a little bit, and we're ready to come out, and we're ready to show that we got our chin rung, and we got it rung in a good way, not like a bad loss like Texas had with Georgia or even Alabama against Tennessee. We're just there. So make those small adjustments, and that will put us over the top, and even, possibly, break the net to where, we're going the fourth quarter and we're maybe winning by 6 points, and then all of a sudden it explodes in the fourth quarter, and then we win by 3 touchdowns. So I'm really excited for that. But The other thing I wanted to ask you guys about, and this is, I know this is off topic from Buckeye football, but this is something that, like, I was watching the games this weekend, and I was watching Texas and Georgia, and I couldn't believe it. Like, number one, you got Texas who gets mad at a penalty call and they start throwing crap on the field. And it's like, what constitutes that? Why in the world would you even express that is okay for fans to do? Because, I mean, Ohio State would literally be up in arms if anybody did that. And number two, I understand that the referees were able to, like, review the call and they were like, oh, let's overturn the call. And it's such a terrible precedent that I think to myself, and it's like, when I watch some of these games that I've seen this year, and I'm not a zebra picker, but in this year particular, it's like, what do you think needs to be done in order to take the game out of the fans and the referees' hands and put it in the hands of the players? Because it seems like so far some of the games this year been decided by either fans or referees, and it's just it's crazy. Like, I mean, what do you guys think?
They need to kill conference affiliations for officiating crews.
Yep. That's the number one thing. To me, the number two thing is they need to start putting chips in the balls and letting the chips dictate where the balls are placed at and stuff like that. Because you even saw, I think it was in the Michigan game.
That was insane.
Yeah,
that was insane. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
So, like, these referees obviously have too much going on, and I'm not a referee defender. I get pretty mad at the referees quite frequently, but I mean, at a certain point, you're asking these referees to, do targeting, place the ball, figure out like who's holding who, also keep track of the sideline. Like, you're asking them to do so many things. You need to start taking stuff off their plate and either giving it to somebody who is watching the game from up in the booth or putting chips in the ball, something like that. They just have to do something different because it's too much on the refs.
You know what'll happen though if they put chips in the balls?
What?
Connor Stallion's brother's going to start hacking in and messing him with the chips.
You're going to see the ball vibrate and go forward.
The ball is clearly on the 25, but the chip reader is saying it's on the 30. What the heck's going on?
There you go.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, that total scandal. Absolutely. I mean, it's just, honestly, that's another reason why, I'm so high on this year, because I'm sorry. I mean, I hate scum. Absolutely. I do. Absolutely. I can't, there's no respect for them anymore for what they did. And, whatever punishment comes to them, it's going to be glorious. I know we know it's coming. We know it's coming. And, at the end of the day, they welcomed the mediocrity that has become their program this year. What they're doing, what they did against Illinois, how they lost against Washington, and it's just there's so many red flags about it, and it's just I don't really pity him, because there's no such thing as somebody saying, oh well, the cheating didn't matter. No, it did. It absolutely did. And I firmly believe that even after Connor Stalions left, there were still people on the staff that knew what he was doing that still helped them throughout the 2022-2023 season. And at the end of the day, you have to look at it and say, sorry, you guys need to rebuild yourself and show a better like example of being like a blue blood program, and what you do with your athletics, as well as trying to represent the Big Ten. And I personally and firmly believe, because I know some people, I got a friend of mine, he's a diehard Michigan fan, and I'm doing my best to kind of, I don't really egg him, because I think he knows at the end of the day, I mean, Michigan's losing that title. They're losing the title. They're losing the Big Ten champions, because there's just no way that they can settle. There's just no way. It's got to go. And the NCAA has to do this, because it's like the line in the sand, because they haven't handled certain things in the past correctly or to the correct firm level that they need to. So unfortunately, Michigan's put themselves squarely in their targets, and now they're on the chopping block. So, I firmly believe Michigan's losing their title. They're losing their Big Ten titles. It's over. It's done. They're going to have to do a reset, and, best of luck to them after the reset. But that's what I firmly believe. Do you guys feel like there's something different, like they may help them keep the title? I just don't see how it goes, because it just seems the NCAA is not budging at all. No matter what they're trying to bring to the NCAA, they're saying, nope, we're not doing it.
Yeah, for me, it's really difficult to try to predict the NCAA. From everything I've heard and seen people say, it sounds like at the very least there's some kind of big bowl ban coming. I don't know if they'll take away the title. Who knows? It's going to be really, really weird. But I have to think that there is some very significant punishment coming. They might keep the title, but even if they do, we all know it's phony.
Yeah, has to be.
I think the fact that a lot of their beat writers have been fairly quiet about the NOA, and everything just seems like it's quiet on that front. As soon as it came out, like they were talking about, how it was bogus, how it wasn't anything. Ever since the NOA got handed down, it's been crickets, and that means to me that there's something there that is significant.
Yeah. All right, Jason, final thought, and then we're going to bring Tyler in here.
Final thought. I'm excited. I'm excited to get back to Buckeye football. I'm excited to see them play. And honestly, in my mind, just fix the defense. Just get those tweaks out. Hopefully that come to Jesus meeting that Ryan Day did is going to make a difference. And in Ryan Day, we trust. I'm sorry, some people might not like that, but I agree with everyone else. He's just been there. We're just there. It's one kick against Georgia that didn't allow us to be able to go to the national title. It's just one terrible play that was done by Justin Fields to go to the national title in 2019. He's just been there. We're almost there. We're knocking on the door. So excited and happy that we kind of got this loss out of the way so we can make those corrections. And, all everything's up. Everything's all star shining. So go Bucks, and excited to see what they do, because I think they're going to go on a tear.
I hope so. I hope you're right, Jason.
I hope so.
Great call, man. We appreciate you being
thanks,
here.
Jason.
And, definitely go Bucks.
No problem, guys. OH.
Ayo.
All right, great call there from Jason. We're gonna bring our buddy Tyler in here. Tyler, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm great. How are you doing today, JR, Zach?
Doing great, man. Doing
good.
great.
Doing good.
Always ready to talk some Buckeye football or talk some trash to that team up north. I know you get yourself in that as well a few times. So what's on your mind tonight, Tyler?
My thoughts are, JR, this fan base, unfortunately, we complain about everything, right? And
yep.
Unfortunately, with the loss against Oregon, and we lost by 1 point, and we think this whole season is everything we've done to this point had been a failure.
If you read a lot of what goes on Twitter and stuff like that, you would think that Ohio State lost 3 games so far this season.
It blows my mind how we as a fan base are so wrapped up in the idea that you had a bogus offensive pass interference call against Jeremiah Smith. And then it took them to get 2 fumbles, Oregon, at their place.
Tyler,
right? Can you hear me?
Tyler, you're cutting in and out a little bit there. Didn't hear what you said there. If you could say that again.
Oh,
you kind of cut out there for a second. Say what you said there again. The bogus pass interference call is what you said last.
it took them also 2 fumbles to beat us, right? And the defense playing their worst game by far this year. And it's fair to say. It's fair to say that. But do we expect that to happen again? Not by a long shot. I don't think so. If the coming to Jesus moment with Knowles and Larry Johnson has happened, from what we've heard, which I don't know why it's taken this long for this to happen. And I mean, we get it. Part of the frustration was Ryan Day never really invested in the defense. So until last year and this year, so him paying attention now to underlying problems that have been going on for quite a while.
You're breaking up again there, Tyler. Shoot.
Okay. It's the internet. Let me try to turn on my data real quick.
Tyler, unfortunately, I think we're going to have to take you down. We just can't quite hear what you're saying or what's going on. Shoot. Let me try to bring Tyler in here one more time and see.
The internet.
Oh, he's on the other one. Okay. Tyler, is this device working better? Nope. You got 2 devices in here, Tyler.
Yeah, that's the problem. I put the wrong. I try to close one of them. Give me a second.
There we go.
Okay, I had
try this one more time. We'll see if the connection's working better. Try this one more time.
Yeah, I had StreamYard open twice, JR. That was my fault.
That's why. Okay.
But I also turned on my data too. So, but let's put this in. So, if the defense had their come to Jesus moment, right, with Jim Knowles and Larry Johnson actually finally getting their heads and actually proper, playing good defense together, complementary defense, you can beat anyone on your schedule. You can beat anyone on your schedule. Now, every other team is going to play you like their Super Bowl. So that's where Ryan Day's coaching has to get better. You know that everyone is going to play you like their Super Bowl. And that's where the rivalry game is the most important game in his career right now, coaching career right now this year. If he loses this year, pack your things and just don't even say goodbye. Just pack your things and just move out. Just no one wants to see you ever again. It's that simple.
Well, especially with how Michigan has looked so far this year, right? I mean, it would be a different story if, they were another top 5 team, stuff like that. And obviously I'm not trying to excuse any losses, but if they came back and Sharon Moore was the real deal and they had quarterback play and stuff like that, and it's a close loss, you could kind of have a little bit of well, the team is good and it's a hard to, I'm not saying that I would be that way, but I could see how people could make that argument a little bit more. However, this is just a terrible team up north.
It is.
They're awful.
Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah. So I think to your point, Tyler, you're exactly correct. If Ryan Day drops this one with a roster where everybody is returning, everybody's coming back other than Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Hall, everybody's returning. You got the transfer quarterback, you got the number 1 transfer safety, all that stuff, and a team up north that is struggling mightily with a first-year head coach. I don't know if Ryan Day will ever beat them if he doesn't beat them this year, which to your credit, it's well, why is he on staff or why is he the head coach if he can't beat that team up north?
Because here's my other frustration with Ryan Day too, is we've also noticed that doesn't Ryan Day always try to show doesn't Ryan Day always allow the other team to dictate in big games?
It certainly feels that way. Although I will say, Oregon, I think Ryan Day would have dictated the game against Oregon if Quinshon Judkins had not fumbled early in that game. Like that, they could have had a chance to go up 14-0. And instead, Judkins, and Harmon made a heck of a play. So, I mean, part of that was.
Yeah, I'm going to give full credit to him. He made a hell of a play. It's
you can say that a little bit with the fumbled snap later on in the game too, right? I mean, you had the fumbled snap by Will Howard where, I mean, I said it when it happened. If that drive went, down the field, that would have taken enough time off the clock. Even if you got a field goal there, you would have been up by enough.
And one other play, the Henderson, if he just goes straight for the first down rather than juking,
it would have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
It's
Tyler, what do you think?
Honestly,
still there?
Yeah, I'm here, JR. I'm here. I'm trying to
shoot. Tyler, I apologize, man. You're breaking up so much and it's really hard to hear you. I apologize, Tyler. That stinks. Try to call in with maybe a better internet connection next time, or maybe on a different device. I don't know if that is a part of it. So, well, we had David Greedshield in here, but David popped off. So David, if you're out there and you want to pop back in, we got time for one more caller. If not, that's gonna conclude the show for tonight. Zach, I say we talk for a few more minutes, give David another chance to call in. If he doesn't call in, then we'll get out of here. Let's talk about this Nebraska game really fast, Zach, before we get out of here. Nebraska coming in, the loss against Indiana. They have had a good defense this year. Obviously didn't look like that against Indiana, but not many defenses have looked good against Indiana so far this year. How do you think the Ohio State offense is going to fare against a good Nebraska defense, at least on the interior of the defensive line, and what they've been able to do this season?
I feel like the Ohio State fans are not going to like me saying this. I feel like Ohio State's MO under Ryan Day off a bye week has been sleepy Ohio State. So I kind of expect that. Like, I just think almost like they're almost too hyped. And then they just kind of, they don't perform kind of how we expect in the first couple, I would say probably the first quarter and a half. And I would not be surprised if there's some boos out, like the boo birds are out. I wouldn't be surprised if Howard throws a pick. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets sacked a couple times. Just because it feels like that is kind of what might happen. And then I think they'll probably turn the game in the second half.
Ryan Day has been notorious for some slow starts coming out of the bye week, which seems so weird because this team turns it on so well in the second half when they make their adjustments. And I mean, against Oregon, they did make adjustments and they did do better in the second half. It obviously wasn't the level of what we saw against like Marshall and Western Michigan and games like that, but obviously Oregon is not those teams. But I mean, I agree with Kevin. Ohio State should shred Nebraska's defense. They should do that. And to me, I think they will eventually do that. That's just the biggest thing is how long is it going to take to get there? Is it going to take so long that Ohio State only wins by 3-4 scores, or are they going to be able to do it right out of the gate? And this is going to look like a 42-7 type of game or something like that. Kevin also says after a loss like that to Oregon, they surely want to play as soon as possible. Won't be surprised if this is an exception to the usual bye week slow starts. I hope you're right, Kevin. We really need it.
One thing I'll add though to that, I would see how disciplined they are in the first quarter. Like, are they like, because you can be angsty and antsy and amped up. My concern is, do they get a bit overzealous? And we've seen that with Ohio State under Ryan Day. Like, I just, going back to 2022, Ryan Day and against Michigan, G. Scott headbutting a guy because just frustrated. I don't think it'll be that to that level, but I would say let's see what happens in terms of penalties, personal fouls, and just overall discipline. Because I think if they're sharp in that area, they might come out firing on all cylinders. But I think if they're not sharp in that area and they're just almost overamped, I think it could be a long first half.
It could be. It could be. We'll see how it goes. Doug just getting in, was busy harvesting. Doug, we appreciate you being here. And friend Terry from the Big Ten Huddle, Indiana fan Terry, he says, "Hey boys, good to see you guys sleep okay last night. I know you're worried about that whooping Coach Sig and the boys are coming to give you in Columbus. Oh boy, I never thought we'd have an Indiana fan in the comment section talking trash, but there's a first time for everything, and I love it, Zach."
Yeah, I love it. It's funny. My mom and I have been talking about, my mom's a huge Ohio State fan. Like, I mean, she's the one that got me into the fandom. And so we've been talking about trying to get to a game before the end of the season. And for a while I was like, we should go to the Indiana game. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to the Indiana game. Like, I mean, I do, because I think it'll be a good game, but there's a part of me that's like, do I want to pay like a couple $100 a ticket to just see us lose? I don't know if I want that.
I went to the Indiana game last year at Bloomington, and there were a lot of Indiana fans that were talking trash before the game, and it was rather interesting. I think most of them had a little too much to drink at their tailgate, which was probably a part of the reason of why that happened, and that's fine. You teach their own. But they left the game pretty quick once the second half started getting going and stuff like that. So we didn't have to deal with them. But I don't think that's going to happen against this Indiana game coming up this year. That's probably going to be the test to see if this Ohio State defense has made the proper changes. I mean, all credit, all respect to Nebraska and other teams and stuff like that. But Ohio State, like the way it looks right now, this Indiana team is going to be the best offense Ohio State faces.
Better than Oregon.
I mean, they've got better numbers. I know they haven't played. Well, actually, they really have played similar competition to what Oregon has played. So, I mean,
would you take Dylan Gabriel over, or would you take Curtis Rourke over Dylan Gabriel?
I mean, the way he's been playing this year, yeah.
Would you take their Indiana's receivers over Oregon's receivers?
No. No, I have a lot of respect for Indiana's receivers, but I think that Oregon's receivers are just too fast and too athletic.
Yeah. Evan Stewart really showed up in a big way. And I know Denzel Burke is getting a lot of, deserved criticism. I think part of it was scheme related though, as we've kind of looked back and watched film, but like that, I think Oregon is probably a little stronger at the receivers and on their lines. But I will say, out of the remaining schedule, while I think Penn State gives unique struggles to Ohio State, I think Indiana as a complete package is more complete.
Yeah.
And I'm more concerned about that.
I agree. I think it's going to be a big test for Jim Knowles and the defense and see how they put things together, which it sounds so weird. I know there's probably some Ohio State fans in the comments right now like, oh, Indiana's the biggest test on offense. Go look at the numbers. I mean, Indiana's putting up numbers right now that we haven't seen since like 2019 LSU, which obviously, like, comparing Indiana's talent to that team seems super strange, but the numbers are all there. So, I mean, it's been crazy. We'll see how it goes.
It'll be high scoring.
It will.
Like, I think, and just back to your comment about receiving core, they're not as good as Oregon's, but they're good enough. They're really good offensively, and it's everywhere. Receivers, backs, tight ends. I mean, they are legit talented, like top 10 offense, maybe top 5 offense in the country.
Yeah, I agree. Terry says Oregon and yours talent is worlds ahead, but we have not. But what we have is not measurable in a stopwatch or tape measure. Yep.
I'm just going to say Elijah Surratt because that dude, listen, that dude is awesome. Like, he's like heart and soul of that core. And yeah, I love him as a player. I love him as like, I don't know if I would say it's worlds ahead, Terry, but there is a talent gap, but I think you're right. Like, the size of the fight in that dog is huge.
Well, what Indiana has that not a lot of teams have, which Ohio State does have, even though they don't always show that they have it, is they have experience. They have a lot of guys on that team who have played a lot of college football, and they aren't still in college football because they weren't good enough to stick around. This isn't a Jack Tuttle situation where they didn't have anywhere else to go, so they had to stick around. This is a team that honestly they have a future in the NFL. A lot of these players, and they just need to get to a bigger program and play on a bigger stage in order to get discovered. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Indiana have a number of NFL draft picks after this year, probably one of the highest numbers we've seen in Indiana history, because even though, like I said, it's not, and like Terry said, it's not equal talent to Ohio State, obviously, but it is good talent, and we're starting to see that. So all right, everybody, no more calls, and we've done our hour of service. We appreciate all of you being here. If you just came on, we appreciate you coming in. You can go back and watch from the beginning. We had good callers. We had Jason call in, and that was a good time. And we had Sean call in as well. Unfortunately, I had to cut it short with Tyler because his internet wasn't working, but hopefully we'll be able to get Tyler in here calling next time. So, Zach, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I'd just like to apologize for wearing blue today. I know that I'd get kicked out of the WAC, but I'm representing Harrisburg, the Harrisburg Senators, not the team up north. I just want to make that clear.
Okay. You can get away with it this time, but next time, will
I be kicked? Will I be kicked off the call?
No, you won't be kicked off, but we'll have to figure out some kind of blockage or something from neck up or neck down, something like that. So
I'll get a brown paper bag or a potato sack.
I will say it's better than shirtless though. Don't come in shirtless.
Yeah, you don't want that. Nobody wants that. I don't.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming to the call-in show. We appreciate it. We'll be back here again Monday. Hopefully, should be talking about a win over the Cornhuskers this weekend, and hopefully another loss for the team up north. We can talk about that as well.
Amen.
There we go. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. Have a good one.